everybody, welcome back to another review. Hope you guys been enjoying the content on the channel as of late. Just got out of seeing another mystery movie, and I wasn't entirely sure what it would be this time around. Usually with mystery movies, I have a fairly good idea as to what it's going to be, but this time I had literally no idea. That movie being American Fiction, which was written and directed by Cord Jefferson. I think that's his name. Presumably in his directorial debut. Um, Stars Jeffrey Wright as well as Issa Rae, whatever the fuck her name is, the chick from Insecure, I think, um, and Sterling K. Brown, as well as a couple of other faces. Um, it primarily stars Jeffrey Wright as a struggling writer who goes home to his family when his mother starts to fall very ill. She actually ends up having Alzheimer's, and he's tasked with taking care of her. And while doing so, he is trying to make a career of himself. And what he does to try that to as a joke, he decides to write in the way that Hollywood expects you to. As him being a black person, he writes in a black sort of way, and the writers love it. The writers are white, so you can understand where the movie's going. It's making a big social commentary, very blatant social commentary about, white people and just how they treat black people, what they expect out of black people. You've been here before. Um, like, here's the thing. If you guys have followed the channel for any extended period of time, you guys know politically where I stand. So just hearing this nonsense again is just a little irritating. And the added frustration is the representation of such an idea, and that is through a strategical, satirical like mindset. I'm trying to say the word. Basically, a satire. And the problem is that the satire, like, to be a satire, it has to make sense, right? Like, it has to make some fundamental sense. With this, it feels backwards. The commentary it's trying to make, it's like, flip that around, and that makes a lot more sense, because the the ideas that the film is preaching are not at all the expectations of society. Like, they're expecting them to act like, oh, like the stereotypical things that like black that people presume about black people, like that, this and that. Oh, they're from the hood, they're gangster, all this sort of shit. And yet, people will act that way, and society and even blacks are accepting of that sort of thing, as long as you're falling into a certain minority group or jiving with that mentality, then you're perfectly fine, as long as you're liberal, basically. But, um, like, that's all okay. But if you're a straight white dude, then apparently that's just racist. Oh, those white people. Like, they do this throughout the entire movie, where apparently white people are just dumb, stupid, naive. They make a very, very blatant point, a very racist point, in my opinion, about, white people, because they like to generalize white people, as the movie makes a point about generalizing black people. Um, and apparently, being a writer is non-judgmental according to the movie, even though the whole point of writing is having judgments, and the entire principle of this movie is based on a judgment. So the ideas of the movie are very confusing, because there's no linear or really, like, conceivable. It makes little sense. It's just, hindering on a certain kind of ignorance, a very popular form of ignorance. And my theater was laughing, so obviously you can see politically and just in general, just how they jive with it. They're like, oh yeah, we totally get this. This is totally funny. Yeah, it's totally funny to shame white people on everything, and to, like, oh, it's so funny how the white people are not being inclusive with the black people, even though they're in the room voting on things. If it's not the black person's way, if the black person doesn't get the majority vote or get what they want, then apparently it's just racist, you know? Like, like, it's a lot of this stuff, and it's like it's not really funny. Some of it I jived with a little bit, like some of the like because it ultimately boils down to what it means to be a sellout, what it means to be exploitative, while in the background also uh, trying to revive family connections and find that purity within your heart, within that, like I understand what they're trying to do in that thematic aspect, but the approach to it just feels so like um, convoluted, and I just could not jive with like what they were saying. Like I'm just like, okay, okay, yes, this and that, but it's like that's also a complete hypocrisy, because so it's fun to just shame on the white person, but it's and also they're stereotyping all the white people in the movie. Like apparently white people are just super judgmental, and they have all this privilege, white privilege, and they are this and that. It's like that's you know apparently that's fine. That's just how white people are, but also stereotyping black people, you know what I mean? It's like they'll make a point to show that stereotyping a black person is bad, even though Hollywood themselves don't do that sort of thing. They give all the power to the minorities. Like they let them do whatever the fuck they want. So it's a liberal city, so of course they're gonna let every person, like black, Asian, women, all that shit. Yeah, of course they're gonna let them have their fucking stories, and they're gonna let them say it however the fuck they want to, because A, they don't want to be canceled, and B, they don't want to be labeled as racist. That's not how Hollywood works. They're not this fucking racist corporate. I mean, they're racist in a different way towards white people, but they're not this filthy racist, sort of like we're not in the fucking plantation ages anymore, people. Like get the fuck over it. Like the fact that this movie exists is a complete hypocrisy to the statement that the movie is making. So, but beyond that, rant aside about just the stupidity that it bears politically. You have performances that are fair enough. I mean, in general, they're committed. I like the tone, this little jazzy environment that's set up. Um, I got like maybe it's just because of just um, like just the aura that's built, but and this is not being racist. Just before one of you guys comment like, oh well, obviously he's gonna pick a black movie. It's like no, it's just it's the aura, how it felt when watching it. It reminded me a little bit of In the Heat of the Night with Sidney Poitier. It kind of reminded me of that a little bit in terms of its flavor, in terms of its like I said, its aura. You know, it reminded me of that a little bit. It's not because a bunch of black people star in it. It's just because it just reminded me of that. So, um, but it also reminded me a little bit of what's that film called? With what's his face? Lakeith Steinfeld. Sorry Not to Bother You. Something along those lines. It reminded me of that a little bit in terms of like how it's building its satire. Um, this one's a little bit more straight faced, where that one I think was trying to be a little more experimental or playing around with certain thing, you know. But um, yeah, I don't like I'll put it this way. I was gonna go to a comedy show about like a month or so ago out here in this little city, and I just didn't want to give away where I live, but um, the comedy that they were putting on was liberal, things, very democratic sort of mentalities, and I was like, no, that's not really my humor. I don't think it's funny to shit on one race and blame one race, entirely for such a thing. Like, and to make certain this and that. It's like, I don't find it funny. I think it just highlights more of people's insecurities and just, the fact that people are so full of themselves. Um, so that's the way I will label American fiction, which by the title itself, like just the title and then just looking at what it's trying to portray, it's convoluted. Like the politics don't add up. the overall storyline itself is fine if you get rid of those like politics. Like it's fine if they were to focus more on that family dilemma, then I would be a little bit more understanding, a little more sympathetic. But since we're focusing squarely on this, I find myself just like, you know, I was laughing at stuff that nobody was laughing at, you know. Um, there was one person who laughed at a suicide joke. Let me just put it that way. So like, like some of the things that people found funny in this movie, I didn't really find funny, you know. And just be clear though, it was one person who laughed at that suicide joke, so he was probably just being a fucking moron. But um, he's more of a moron than the rest of the audience was, because I feel like just, and I'm speaking just politically here, just the stuff that it talks about, it's like, that it doesn't make any sense, and B, it, it's so naive. Hollywood does not act like this. Hollywood does not act like this at all. They're not racist fucking pigs in that sort of way. They're racist towards the white people because it's financially acceptable. You know what I'm saying? It's more financially stable to shit on a white person. That's how Hollywood floats. They float wherever the money goes. So hey, if we're having to hate on the white people, then we're just gonna do that. So, and that's what it is right now. People love to shit on the white person, and white people also like to be posers. You know what I'm saying? So it's like, you know, like, yeah, that's the one thing that I kind of laughed at. There was a point where there was like a white dude who talked to Jeffrey Wright at one point, and they're both acting like posers. Jeffrey Wright is acting all like stereotypical, and then the white person's acting like a certain way, acting of that stereotype. And it's like, like that, like stuff like that was funny, but also like, again, what they're trying to make of it, it's like, I just, no, so I think that it hinders a lot on your political affiliations and how you just view this sort of thing. Because if you can jive with this, if you find a lot of what they say is, a lot of the humor in this funny, then you'll think that this is great. And you'll think that this is rich and deep, and, this is very timely, you know? Or if you're someone like me who's level headed and doesn't, just buy into whatever nonsense is out there, um, you'll think that this movie is just odd and very naive, very full of itself, and um, just completely lacking in understanding, and to be frank, at some point, really lacking in care. So, um, I didn't hate it. It definitely sounds like I hated it, but just to be clear, I think that uh, there's a fair craftsmanship there, and the performances are good. I think that the aura that it builds is nice. Like I said, it kind of echoes that of like In the Heat of the Night, as well as like Sorry Not to Bother You. Like it kind of reminded me of those sort of things. Um, and I think the commentary is also the same in all those movies, if I'm not mistaken. Maybe less so in The Heat of the Night, but definitely in Sorry Not to Bother You. Um, Also, it's just coming to me, the movie Dear White People. I don't know if anyone remembers that movie. So I think that was also a satire as well, or at least it was like more blatant, more upfront. I don't know, but it reminded me of movies like that. And besides In the Heat of the Night, which I actually quite enjoy, or I thought it was good. It was good. I won't go that far. It was good. Um, the other movies I've mentioned, Sorry Not to Bother You, Dear White People, those movies, it no, I wasn't big on. Purely because of what they're trying to speak on and how they wish to approach it. It becomes more nonsensical, more loon, and, you know, more uh, fictional. So, it's not stewed in reality. This is something that is a manifestation of one's insecurities, you know, and American fiction matches that sentiment. So yeah. I don't hate it. There are some good marks there, but I it's made for a select few, and I'm just not it's it's made for the majority, but I in my view am not the majority, so I just didn't really jive with it. So yeah, so those are my thoughts on American Fiction. I thought it was good performances, but beyond that and some fair atmosphere being built, I just found it not that appealing because it's purely stemming from its politics. And if just to be clear, because I'm pretty sure I'm probably going to get a little bit of hate, guys, the movie is all about the politics, and I've always said if a movie is about politics, and if it also it factors into my overall feelings of the movie, I have to bring it up. You know, like I'm not just gonna keep my mouth shut. So, I mean, if you're triggered, then whatever. But like, I'm just speaking about the movie here, and I think the movie itself is a bit convoluted and a bit nonsensical. But again, just my opinion. So I'm all about peace at the end of the day. So, but I don't think the movie itself is thinking that way though. So, um, but you guys know your thoughts on American Fiction. If you guys decide to see it, I think it comes out on the 15th. So let me know your thoughts if you guys see it. And yeah, so that's gonna be it for me, guys. Thank you guys for tuning in. Again, just be nice in the comments. Just my opinion. Um, but yeah. So that'll be it. And until then, I will catch you guys in the next video.